Hi everyone. People usually say you should use every trick in the book if you want to win, but still there are certain rules in sports and you should not break them, even if you think the ends justify the means. For this video, we found stories of several athletes that cheated because they really wanted to win. Well, their fraud was unveiled, and every one of those cheaters suffered the consequences. Do you want to know their names? Then let's get it on. Michael Pineda. In baseball, pine tar is applied to bats in order to improve the grip. Sometimes it's also used to spoil the balls. Although the rules can seem open to interpretation, it's usually believed that athletes cheat this way. On April 23, 2014, Michael Pineda from the New York Yankees was playing against the Red Sox. The Red Sox manager John Farrell informed the umpires that Pineda had pine tar on his neck. Indeed, they found a large spot of the prohibited substance.
Now they're checking his back. And they're throwing him out of the game.
Pineda was disqualified for 10 games because of this, and because he'd been almost caught before, but that time he'd had time to remove the substance. And this is not the only case. In 1988, Jay Howell was suspended for the same reasons. He had pine tar on his glove, although he was suspended only for 2 days. Back in 1983, George Brett was caught using pine tar too. The incident is also known as the pine tar game, and is considered to be one of the most controversial games in baseball history.
And the Yankees want the bat. Look at Martin.
Measuring. George Brett out.
Well, the Yankees win it. He's out.
Yes, sir.
Brett is out. And
he's steaming mad.
He is out.
Danny Almonte. Danny Almonte, a Little League basketball player from the Dominican Republic, became a sensation in 2001. Almonte was a pitcher for the Rolando Paulino All-Stars, a Little League team from the Bronx, New York. His left-handed 70-mile-an-hour deliveries were impossible to stop. Basically, everyone thought Danny was going to have an incredible future, when suddenly it was discovered that he was cheating. After a game, journalists published Almonte's documents from the Dominican Republic. According to them, Danny was born in 1987, not in 1989 as he'd claimed. Turned out he was older than 12, which is the age limit for the Little League baseball. That means at the time he was already 14. Investigations carried out by the Little League and Dominican officials discovered that Danny's father registered Danny's birth twice. Why? Well, we have no idea. The second registration reduced the boy's age by 2 years. As a result, Little League Baseball declared Danny Almonte ineligible, and his team records were removed from the book. And the cheating father was banned for life from any Little League Baseball related activity. Sylvester Carmouche. Sylvester Carmouche was a jockey in the 90s. His most memorable race took place on a foggy day when viewers could barely see the track. After the start of the race, Carmouche didn't rush his horse forward like other jockeys. Instead, he retreated a little and waited for the other racers to approach him from the back. When the cunning jockey heard the thud of the hooves, he took to running and crossed the finish line with flying colors. Obviously, everyone thought he'd won. The other racers were really upset. They didn't even see Carmouche ride past them. The finishing footage didn't look particularly suspicious, but the judges felt something was off. They decided to examine the horse and found it had no mud on it or other signs that it had actually raced. Besides, it wasn't breathing heavily, even though it should have been after such an incredible race. At the end, Sylvester Carmouche couldn't deceive the Louisiana Racing Commission and was suspended for 10 years. Fred Laws. American athlete Fred Laws took part in the marathon at the Olympics, but after running for 14.5 kilometers, he fell out of the race. He probably couldn't bear it anymore. His manager picked him up in his car and drove him for 17.7 kilometers more. Then Laws went running to the stadium where he broke the finishing line tape and was greeted as the winner. Rumor has it even President Roosevelt's daughter Alice awarded Fred Laws with a gold medal and took a picture with the champion. When the rest of the runners made it to the finishing line, the deception was uncovered. Nevertheless, Laws claimed it was just a joke. The Amateur Athletic Union disqualified him for life for such a funny joke, even though later they forgave him and restored him after Laws said he was sorry. Turned out he didn't actually mean to deceive anyone, it was just a coincidence. In 1905, he won the Boston Marathon and took part in many similar events without breaking any rules. Pete Rose. American baseball player Pete Rose is indeed a great athlete. During his 24-year-long professional baseball career, he received numerous awards for his victories and achievements. He almost had a guaranteed place in the Hall of Fame, thanks to his skills and talent. But suddenly, in 1989, Pete was accused of gambling on baseball, particularly on teams he was the manager of. What's wrong with that though, you might ask? Well, actually, gambling is prohibited in baseball, since the manager can affect the result of the game. Rose denied everything though, but he was proved guilty. As a result, the famous Pete Rose couldn't play professionally ever again, and didn't get into the Hall of Fame. Only in 2004, Rose officially confessed he'd gambled on baseball games, but he keeps denying he was betting against his team. Chicago White Sox. After winning another title in the American League, the White Sox was supposed to play against the Cincinnati Reds in the finals, and it was considered the odds-on favorite team. Before the beginning of the series, the bets on a victory by Cincinnati had risen sharply, and there was a lot of money at stake. There were rumors about the game being arranged, and in the end, the Chicago White Sox lost. In September 1920, an investigation showed that 8 Chicago players were involved in a conspiracy to lose the World Series. The initiator was Arnold Gandil, who had connections with the criminal world. He convinced his friend, a professional gambler, that he'd be able to pull off the scam. A famous gangster, Arnold Rothstein, provided the money for the deal. This could have been a real crime sports scandal, but right before the trial, the testimonies of the players and other key evidence mysteriously disappeared. You know, typical Chicago business in the 1920s. As a result, the baseball players were cleared by the court, but were severely punished by the league, receiving a permanent disqualification. The New England Patriots. The Patriots team has been in the middle of a scandal more than once. In 2015, an investigation revealed that the Patriots used deflated balls. Sounds funny and a little absurd, doesn't it? Meanwhile, according to experts, it is a real way to cheat in American football. During the first half of the AFC Championship, quarterback Tom Brady threw a ball to the Colts linebacker DeQuell Jackson. Then Jackson handed the ball to his manager as a souvenir, and then the manager realized the ball was a little too soft. During the break, NFL officials inspected the balls and found out that half of them were different. As a result of a long litigation, Brady, who seemed to be aware of the fraud, was suspended for several games, and the team was fined $1 million. Jeff Burton. In NASCAR, they are very proud of the fact that they have strict rules and high standards. Therefore, in 1997, when Jeff Burton appeared on the track with a heavily modified car roof, the officials of the association were outraged. The changes in the design of the car were clearly illegal, at least because the roof was lowered to improve aerodynamics, which gave Jeff an advantage over his rivals' regular cars. But what can you do in such a situation? Impose a fine? Disqualify someone? Instead, the judges decided to destroy the roof. Literally, they just took it off. No roof, no violation. Park Si-hun. This South Korean amateur boxer won the light middleweight gold medal at the 1988 Olympics. Park defeated American athlete Roy Jones in the final fight, but the judge's decision turned out to be very controversial. The fact is that Jones had the lead in all 3 rounds. In the second round, Park took a standing 8 count, and the statistics of the punches indicate that the American was winning. However, the judges thought otherwise. As a result, Park was awarded a gold medal by a score of 3-2. The Moroccan referee later admitted that he actually wanted to vote for Jones, but gave preference to the Korean athlete to avoid an embarrassing score of 5-0. After the match, Park Si-hun told Jones with the help of an interpreter that he was sorry about what had happened. He knew that he had lost the fight and that the victory was just a gift from the judges. After the scandal, the International Olympic Committee awarded Jones the Val Barker Trophy, which is awarded only to the best boxers. But this didn't fix the situation. Despite all the complaints filed by the American Boxing Association, the judge's decision remained unchanged. And even when the rumors about the judges being bribed were confirmed, no one gave a medal to Jones. Donald Crowhurst. After being thrown out from the Air Force and the Army, electronic engineer and failed businessman Donald Crowhurst decided to become famous and rich by making a single sea journey around the world. In March 1968, the Sunday Times newspaper announced the non-stop, single-handed round-the-world yacht Golden Globe race. Anyone could participate, regardless of their experience, and the money prize was quite significant. Donald's trimaran, the Teignmouth Electron, was equipped with the latest technology, but rather carelessly, so the navigation was complicated by breakdowns almost immediately. There were many problems on the yacht. Things broke down all the time, and Crowhurst forgot to take many spare parts. Besides, the unlucky businessman had never sailed on a trimaran before. He simply had no chance to win. And then Donald decided to cheat. The yachtsman hid the situation from the race organizers and from his family. He gave them false coordinates and kept a false logbook. Crowhurst hoped to fake a trip around the world without actually doing it. When Donald's main rival, a yachtsman named Tetley, who was miles ahead of him, ended up in a shipwreck, Donald found himself in a desperate situation. He couldn't lose the race because he was the only one who could reach the finish line now, but he couldn't win either because the winner's logbook would be studied by experienced sailors, and they would have noticed the fraud. No one knows what happened next though. Crowhurst's drifting yacht was found in the Sargasso Sea, while he disappeared without a trace. Psst, dude, are you looking for new technologies and great gadgets? Are your thoughts focused on the future? Do you love huge vehicles and can't imagine your life without robots around you? Then visit TechZone and you'll find all this and more. The link is in the description. You interested? Great.